I see some familiar faces. That's really awesome. I like seeing people who are interested coming back to events and programs that the Lee County Museum and Center for Arts put on. It's really nice to see the community actually getting involved in things that are considered dying art forms, such as poetry. Myself as a poet, I love seeing these kinds of things. We're going to have two very different writers come in, and one of them is actually a pretty notable journalist from the area, Buck Vandermeer. I've had the pleasure of actually performing on stage with Buck. He's an extremely talented keyboardist, and I'm not quite to par with guitar as he is on keyboard, but that's all right. He was raised in Michigan and earned a Bachelor in English and Journalism from Central Michigan University in '68. After about a 3-year stint teaching English in high school, he went on to embark on a 30-year journey as a gypsy piano player and journalist, and ended up here in Hobbs in 2010. He writes a weekly column called Stories from the Buckboard, and if you ever read these are very, very human tellings of stories and happenings and of people, not only in Lee County, but also people in history and things like that. He's a really expressive type of speaker, and you can really tell that in his writing. It's very human. Buck and his piano student Darla are going to act out scenes from his upcoming novel Tiger Baby in Paradise by Yuan and Buck Vandermeer. Yuan is 25 years old. She was raised in China, and in 2012 she earned her bachelor degree from accounting from the University of Nottingham, Malaysia campus. The term Tiger Baby comes from the generation of single children under the one-child policy in China. Because of this policy, it created a generation of people about my age who are extremely fiercely independent, fiercely intelligent. These people often flock to universities and other schools and completely dominate the society around them, and their environment becomes a product of their happenings. So, without further ado, I give you Buck and Darla.
I'm Darla. In 2010, Buck Vandermeer, who was the barn manager. In 2010, Buck Vandermeer, who was the barn manager at Brigadoon on Mackinac Island, hired this 20-year-old Chinese girl to work for him. And as, where did he go? He said that the Tiger Baby refers to the Chinese children born under the one-child policy. In scene 1, Buck is teaching Miko, in the book he calls her Miko, how to handle a difficult horse. So you have to imagine a big championship horse over here.
All right, tell him to get over there and just push him right there.
Get over!
Do it again, do it louder, and push him.
Get over! He won't do it.
He's playing a game with you. He knows if he gets over, you're going to stop paying attention to him. So we'll change the game on him. Okay, did you ever see a football game?
Once.
Oh, okay. All right. Get it back here about 12 feet. Say, get over, run just as fast as you can, and body slam him just as hard as you can.
He won't do it, he's too big.
He's just a big baby. Okay. Back right up against his back like this. Get down. Put your shoulder put your shoulder right in there by the belly. Get down there like that. And just pick him up and throw him.
I did it! How could I do that?
Well, you had your shoulder on his sciatic nerve. That might have something to do with it. When you popped him, sent a bolt of lightning from his tail to his toenail, like, wow! Yeah. So anyway, next time you tell an horse to do something, he's going to do it. But that is a game-playing horse. And you have to remember, anytime you got a game-playing horse, a horse never wins, ever.
The horse never wins, ever.
Did you hear what that horse just said?
No, I didn't.
You can't hear it?
No, I can't hear.
I got a gift. I can hear horses sing, and it sounds just like a human voice. You know what he said? He said that little Chinese girl's a royal pain in the ass. Okay, I have to explain something here. At the beginning of the book, the old cowboy's the teacher. And he's teaching her English and horses and stuff like that. At the end of the book, she is teaching him. So this is the transitional scene. It's very short.
In scene 2, Buck and Miko are in a high-class restaurant, and they are having fish and chips.
Hey Miko, you know these Americans, they think like the government of China is holding you people prisoners. Is that true?
If they're trying to keep me in China, they're not doing a very good job of it.
Well, what do you the tiger babies think about the government?
We don't think about them. All they ever do is make rules and never change any of them. Why in the hell would I want to think about them? How much did you pay for this meal?
Yeah.
Are you out of your mind?
Miko, where are you going? Why are you so upset?
You go to that restaurant? Are you out of your freaking mind? We have potatoes at the house. I can go to the dock and catch a fish. You are exactly what Oscar Wilde wrote about. You know the price of everything and the value of nothing.
Like that. I used to watch that book, you know, it's a please father.
Scene 3. I need to apologize to you. I need to apologize to you for my thoughts.
No. People don't apologize for their thoughts, but they're thinking about it, forget it.
No, I must. You used to make me so mad. You were always talking about how all your friends were the best players alive. Everyone was the best this, the best that. All famous and great players. Then when they started coming over and playing, I realized you were right. I checked them out on the internet. They are the best players.
Yeah.
Everyone says Peter is the best in Europe. He's a hero in New York and Japan.
Yeah, he is the best. I was right about that.
Well, I have become friends with Peter, and every time he comes over to see me, he comes over and talks. He tells me about how much he admired you when he was young. He said he always wanted to be just like you.
He's just being nice. Don't pay attention to that.
No, he wasn't just being nice. He said that you were the best.
That's Peter. No.
That's not it. He didn't say you are the best. He said you were the best. How could you let this get away from you? How?
I got old. I'm old, that's all.
Oh, don't even try it. You didn't get old. You got lazy. You were dragged into the greatest trap known to man. You were sucked into a comfort zone.
Oh, what?
When I first came here, I thought this was the best possible life for you. You work for a billionaire. You live in a mansion, and all you have to do is take care of 2 horses. I thought this was good for you. I was wrong. This is the worst possible life.
Yeah, but Miko, before I took this job, I could never live like this.
This is a life you can't afford to live. You used to be playing the piano. You were writing. You haven't been on an adventure in years. I don't even know how long it's been since you've been with a woman. You know, in a prison system, they used to call this putting a person in solitary confinement. I don't know what they call it when you do it to yourself. Did you know I used to be afraid of you?
No.
When we first met, I was terrified. Before we left China, we were told to watch out for people who were always being nice and always giving presents and favors because they might end up taking us as a slave. As soon as we met, you started being nice. You brought me over here, you gave me a job, my own apartment.
I hope you don't think I'm trying to make a slave out of you.
I know that. What you don't know is the big boss has already done that to you. He didn't didn't make you a slave. You were actually an indentured servant. But he did it. You betrayed yourself. You threw away everything you were in exchange for a life of luxury. You know, Peter told me that if I could get you to practice, he would put you at the Labor Day Jazz Festival at the Grand Hotel.
He did.
He did, so let's get started.
What, the piano?
The piano. And when I was a child, my father used to kick my chair every time I did something wrong.
That's no way to teach a child how to play the piano. That's terrible.
We'll see. Play when a man loves a woman.
I know that one. Hey, what are you kicking here for? I played that note perfect.
I can play it no perfect. That doesn't mean anything. You don't play the piano with your hands, you play the piano with your heart.
Where'd you come up with that one?
Right here. You said it. Now let's try it again. You play it from the heart and you play it for me. What's wrong?
It's not there anymore. I can't do it.
That's okay. We're just getting started. You don't have anywhere else to go, do you?
Well, probably not. No.
Good. So do it again. Only this time, do it better. Scene 4. Buck and Miko are in Buck's apartment early evening. I have to talk to you. I couldn't call myself a friend if I didn't tell you what's wrong with you.
There's something wrong with me.
Oh, yes, there is. I found it in this old journal of yours. There are a lot of poems in here, and most of them are absolutely dreadful.
I never claimed to be a poet.
Well, that's good. I want to read one of them to you. It's called In a Very Special Way. Do you remember that one?
No.
It's probably good you don't. I'll read it to you. I love you in a very special way are the cruelest words anyone can say. Because their meaning is, I appreciate the sweet and gentle things you do for me, but I want to make love to somebody else.
Because I want you to take that journal down to the trash barrel and burn it.
No! If I do anything with this, I'm taking it back to China. You might not believe it, but bad poetry is really hard to find in China. You might even develop a cult following.
Listen, I would never attempt to defend my poetry. I'm not somebody like Jim Harris or somebody. But that poem makes a valid point. It's a point that the nice guy always comes in last. Hasn't a guy ever said to you, oh, Miko, I love you in a special way?
No, and if they did, I would beat them up. This poetry is just symptomatic of your problem.
And what is that?
The problem you have is you've always failed at love. That is a given, as they say in geometry. That is not to say it's your fault. You were a child of the 60s. Sex, drugs, rock and roll, decadence, intoxication, and loud music. What a set of values to build a society on. But you bought into it, and you lived it. You would go to the bar, playing music, get drunk and stoned, bring some girl home you don't even know. Then when she leaves you, you'd lock yourself up in some grief-stricken room, writing these stupid poems. This defies not only logic, but reason. All of the girls have left you. This one left you for a basketball team. What is that all about?
That might have been a baseball team, but I remember that girl. She was really cute.
Get serious. You never take anything serious.
Serious? You want serious? How about this? I plead guilty, Your Honor, and now I'm going to bed.
Oh, no, you don't. You don't get to plead guilty. What are you going to plead guilty to? Environmental determinism? That's a social problem, not a crime.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right, just a minute. Oh, I suppose you got one of those old Chinese sayings that's going to explain all this to me, right?
Yes, I do. You can't make love with someone you don't really love. I mean, someone you really love, the love has to come first. I want you to memorize this. The ancient Chinese said, to be alone and not be in love is a waste of the body. To be not alone and not be in love is a waste of the soul.
Well, that's really a pretty sentiment, but I'm going to tell you something, Miko. You're making me crazy over here. You wake me up, start waterboarding me with these Chinese sayings. I'll tell you what, I know more Chinese proverbs than you do. You want to hear one?
Enlighten me.
All right. Confucius said, man who have sex and berry patch get ass and jam.
Yeah, no, that's not what I was trying to tell you.
Well, what is it you're trying to tell me then?
It's just the beginning of what I'm trying to tell you.
I'm sorry, I missed my line. Okay, we got that straightened out, and this conversation is over.
No, it's not. It's not over. We haven't even gotten started. If I were writing a thesis, I would call this an Introduction to Failure 101. And it would be about 100 pages long already. It took me a very long time to figure this out. At first, I thought the reason you failed at love was because of your artistic ego.
Artistic ego, what is that?
Yes, writers, musicians, artists, they don't want to be loved by somebody. They want to be loved by everybody. I'm sure that didn't help you any, but that isn't your real problem either.
What is my real problem?
The reason you've always failed with women is because you are a love coward.
A love coward? Oh my God. Is that one of those self-explaining compounds you keep making up?
No, it isn't. In your case, it's describing a tragic flaw.
Miko, are you trying to learn English or redefine it?
A little bit of both, but there is no denying that you are a love coward and always have been. This is the problem. You know how to give love. You love everything. You love the horses. You love your friends. You love the plants in the garden. You even love me.
I never said that.
Well, you didn't have to say that. I can see it in your eyes. You have the ability to give love. It's practically the only thing you do. The problem is you've never learned how to take it. You've never learned that love is a taker's game. If a woman offers you to give you her love, you need to reach out and take it. But a love coward can never do that. No, a love coward won't. You memorize this, cowboy. A love coward never wins ever.
Okay, Miko. Well, you know, Confucius had another one. He said, if you have a problem, seek a solution. Well, I just came up with a solution. You like this one. Why don't you fall in love with me? Because I'm better now. And if you fall in love with me, I can take it. I mean, I will take it around. What the hell you just said?
Oh no. I can't do that.
Why not?
Because a Chinese girl could never love a man who knows all her secrets. And I've already told you all mine.
All right, Miko. You told me all your secrets. I'm going to show you a couple of mine right here. You know Jerry Lee Lewis?
Who?
He's a very famous American philosopher, okay? Okay, so here I'm going to do it. I'm going to do a tune, and this is going to explain that problem with love that we just got over and don't have anymore, okay? And then Jerry Lee's going to explain what I want to do about it, okay? Love, oh, love, oh, girl is love. Love, oh, love, oh, girl is love. Love, oh, girl is love. To love someone who don't love you. I'm gonna get lost in the ozone again. Lost in the ozone again. And I'll be drinking wine and she'll be drinking gin. And lost in the ozone again. Thank you very much.
Dynamite stuff, right? Give it up again for Buck. Up next, we're going to have Joe Somoza. Joe has been a part of this community for a very long time, but he's not originally from here. He was born in Spain in 1940. Could you believe that? Somebody... Okay, I'll talk a little bit more about him before you understand how great he really is. But he grew up in Elizabeth, New Jersey and Chicago, and after studying pre-med in English and teaching college in Texas and Puerto Rico, he received an MFA in poetry. For someone to actually go through and study poetry, you have either one of two things. You have a severe mental illness or passion. I haven't figured out most of them for people that have. But he taught creative writing and literature at New Mexico State University for 22 years and was a poetry editor of Puerto del Sol and a founder and poetry editor at Sin Fortes Journal. He founded a journal of poetry, which is not only an amazing thing to do, but it's an amazingly beneficial thing to do for the people around him. I mean, personally, I want to own a press at some point in my life. That's something that I want to do. I want to give young writers a chance to do that. And this is someone who literally has done that. So I'm very grateful for the things that he's done and the preachings that he's had in the literary community and how he's impacted not only through his life, but also it's branched off in certain kinds of ways. And he has a lot of respect to people that hold a lot of respect to me, especially Alan Greenwood, Peter Mladnick, and Jim Harris. The four of us, we put on things like this because, and you know, I want to give them all a great deal of credit tonight because without them, without us, and even without me, there would be not tonight and not a night with, you know, Buck and Darla, and especially Joe. But back to Joe. This is an introduction for me or anyone else. This is Joe. He's been part of over 200 hard copy online magazine and journal and anthologies. He's had over 200 poems in those. That's phenomenal. Me, myself, 3, 6, something like that. Ridiculous. You need to understand how phenomenal we are, how lucky and privileged we are to have somebody like Joe. And without further ado, here's Joe Somoza.
Pretty hard to live up to that.
I think that one is louder.
But this one is clearer. I like the voice on this. Yeah. I want the words to come out clear. Anyway, I got a new book, As Far As I Know. And I want to read from this. Originally, the title was Lately. And the publisher said that's not catchy enough, so you got to get a new title. And there's a poem in here about my mother, As Far As I Know. I like that phrase because, you know, it's like, it means a couple of different things. When you talk about your mother, as far as I know, might be like everything that you could ever know, that she taught you, something like that. And it also has the more conversational thing. Anyway, salud. The way I write poems is, I retired from teaching about 20 years ago. And every morning I get up and go to my backyard and try to go fishing for a poem. So a lot of times you don't catch anything. And then once in a while you get one that you like and you put it in a separate file. And then after about 6 or 7 years, for me, you got enough for a book. So you try to figure out how to arrange it as a book. And I usually put all the poems on the floor of the living room and arrange them by, if they read well, from one to the next, and if there's groupings. Anyway, this book has 3 groups. And the first group is poems that have to do with the process of writing itself. And the last group has to do with dying. I'm 75 years old, so I think about dying a lot. I have dreams about it. Many of my friends have died, so it's a vivid subject to write poems about. And then the middle section is just everything else that didn't fit into the other 2 that I like. I'll just read a few from the different sections. I just usually read without that. Okay. I got it, I think. Yeah. I want to make sure you can hear the words, though. Okay, let me know if you can't hear it. How is that? Is that better? Okay. I write in my backyard, and so a lot of these poems will have recurring images from the backyard, like my yucca that started leaning over more and more. Vegetation. That tall, listing yucca may be looking at me through the hollows in the dead fibers that make up her scraggly face. Beneath the green brush cut sprouting from her head, with its 3 antennae that flowered recently and dropped their seeds. We've been facing each other for many years of mornings now, to the tune of dove monologues, and dialogues that sound like monologues, and finch chatter whenever I remember to put the birdseed out, across the patch of sand where leaf shadows are animated by the breezes. Today, Memorial Day, I'm writing this memorial to us before I leave. Maybe when I return, you'll have fallen over, smashed on cinder blocks, and I'll have to chainsaw you to pieces, drag you to the curb, and leave you for the grappler. Or if I don't return, you'll continue sending your cockeyed looks toward the lawn chair by the bench where I would sit, under mulberry boughs that, from your perspective, might have made my head seem to sprout leaves. It's true that I've begun vegetating. The longer I've sat here, the more I've grown resistant to moving. The weaker the allure of distant cities. If I could, I'd probably take root in this backyard and let the seasons send out their annual transformations over me. Yeah. Free verse. I let the day go, it was so beautiful. I couldn't stand tying it down with lines that would wrap it in place. So I went out shopping and came back to find the day sailing with its white streaks and its birds doing what birds do, wherever they disappear to go do it. The sheets had dried on the line. The chair in back was waiting. December's leaves continued to color the ground. They don't seem to mind not being raked until spring. And who am I to try to convince them? Who am I to disrupt things as they are? No need to clap. How about clapping at the end if you feel like it? Not just go one to the other. Unless you have if you don't understand something or whatever, let me know. You know. The private lives of words. I was trying to understand how a poem comes to be. So I pretended to be the words inside the poem trying to come out. The private lives of words. I don't want to sound public. I don't want even to pretend to some importance. So why set the words down, preserving them? For others? Clarifying them for myself? Already patterns start to form. The words, once written down, call to other words. It's so lonely on the long blank page. So isolated, living inside someone's head, behind eyes that are forever looking at the surfaces of things from their secure outpost, wondering how we would be inside a locust tree, for instance, or a hummingbird, even inside that old rocking chair sitting in the living room since it was bought from Mary, my ex-neighbor, at a yard sale. And it stayed against that wall, overshadowed by the piano, hardly noticed beside the shelves of multicolored novels that probably commune with each other at nights. Hemingway, continuing his belligerence with Fitzgerald. De Maupassant, chatting with Flaubert. You get some words together and you never hear the end of it. I was listening to Eric Satie. So this is Satie Settee. A pencil rolls off the coffee table onto the rug. Except for the piano music, there's only me and a milky sky outside. A winter storm is brewing, and I'm glad inside this house containing favorite things, my favorite other, and space enough to walk around. Even in the dark, stumbling, we find our way. Or in the kitchen, by light of the refrigerator, sustained by a bowl of soup, a favorite book. Us. Some poems in here about me and my wife. This one, us. We've been married 52 years. When you're lying asleep beside me, mostly naked as I am, deep in sleep, unlike me, who sleeps lightly, and I eavesdrop on your living in your sleep, the part of your life I can't share, haven't shared our 50+ years together, each night roughly for 8 hours, adding up to months, years. And then myself am pulled down by the need to sleep and can no longer think or see clearly, but sink into the pool of quasi-thought and illusion that translates sometimes into dreams, fragments of which may linger when, over breakfast, we try to share what is unshareable of our lives. There's something we do once in a while where both of us can't sleep, we get up and go get breakfast somewhere, like Denny's. Out of order. Because we weren't tired, I guess, we got up, dressed, and drove through the dark town to have breakfast. It was the time to be tired in this middle-class town. The owners of the cars that would have been crowding the streets were still sleeping. A homeless man rested his head next to his coffee cup at IHOP when we walked in. Even the one waitress told us how tired she was, working the graveyard shift. The coffee she poured to warm up our coffee wasn't any warmer. You'd think you could get coffee hot on a cold night, especially when paying $2 for it. But the waitress knew the night was for... Who were we making demands, disturbing the town's rest at 5 a.m.? One of the nice things when my father died about 22 years ago, one of the nice things is I'm starting to get to write poems about him. We never got along, but evolution. As I get older, the face staring at me in the mirror turns more and more into my father's. When he was alive, I didn't know or care for him much. He wasn't interested in who I was or might become. He went to work, came home, shuffled upstairs to his playroom in the attic. A pathologist, he taught me respect for learning and irony. He liked history, world travel, playing chess, and young, pretty women he flirted with and patronized. I grew up as the protector of my mother. After I had children of my own, my father died, and my dislike for him turned to pity. Now that I'm turning the age my father never got to be, his face watches me from the mirror. I hope in sympathy, a trait seldom revealed on that face while he was living. I noticed one morning I went to start a poem and I had started the poem the previous day with the same phrase. So this time it led into an actual poem. To be alive. This means it's a quoted phrase. If I haven't been to Paris or Rome, is how I started yesterday. And I start again today, this cold morning in the backyard, the black cat lying squarely in the sun. In the biography I'm reading, Allen Ginsberg is in Paris, has been to Rome, and in the actual world outside the book is dead, has been dead for years. A new crop of people have been born and are growing in a world without Allen Ginsberg. He would never have believed it. But of course, to not believe it, he would have to be alive, or even to believe it, or to change his mind. To be alive is to be able to be in Rome or Paris and be reading a biography of Allen Ginsberg living at the Beat Hotel in Paris. This is like a memory poem. Saturday nights. Pretty black and white hand-sized City Lights paperbacks I love to hold and look at. I picked one up at Koa's used bookstore yesterday. Ginsberg's Kaddish and Other Poems, 1958-1960. And was transported back 50 years. Chicago, just a teenager walking with pal Tony to the Uptown, hoping to pick up some girls after the show. Though how we'd carry them if we actually picked them up, having no car, wasn't clear. Poor in means, but footloose on the street with hands in pockets, talking up our lives so that resemble what we had in mind. Poets even then, though not presumptuous enough to call ourselves that, nor so self-aware as to realize what we were saying as we talked while walking to the corner grill on Lawrence for fries and cokes, where the girls were everywhere in pairs and bunches. But we, not prepared to act definitively, in no position to make an offer, our shyness and bewilderment over what must have seemed an infinite potential, resulting once again in inertia. This is more like an old man's poem, April Flowers. There's such an abundance of leaves now. So many directions a white butterfly flits at the same time. It's no wonder the cat gives it up and curls on a chair, half asleep, half pretending to sleep. Like old age in his chaise lounge, ruminating while anticipating lunch. Where should we go for adventure? Is our everyday life adventurable? Must we travel far to get somewhere? What were the modes of transportation we learned in 3rd grade between reading comic books and repeating a girl's name in our heads walking home? Home was up the stairs, a small key for the mailbox stuffed with surprises. Are there surprises left? That tan, rather than red-breasted robin in the tree seems so at ease with all these explosions. Spring fever. The mockingbird's back, and he colors the morning with warnings and callings. On the tip of the light pole, he keeps it up, while pollen caterpillars drop from the mulberry onto where I sit and where I don't, democratically. And wind blows through the mint leaves of the locusts that are trying out their new swivel technique, dual-faced reflectors and conductors of sunshine that must make the tree feel good. They make me happy just watching, fascinated by how life knows how to come back, the way we know how to in the mornings, having closed up our petals at night, under covers where smiling strangers can lurk and dig the ground up from under, leaving us high and dry, so that we have to reimagine a trellis every morning on which to climb down. This is a poem I wrote in, outside of Cloudcroft. The trees. Sitting here among my friends, the trees, I feel their quietude, the gratitude they show by holding out their limbs, generously allowing the moss to grow on them, and squirrels and birds to build nests in their crowns. They don't seem to mind my sitting here, maybe sensing how much I value their contemplative nature, their general satisfaction with the way things are. Rooted to their one place in the woods, they don't crave something better, nor complain about the weather. They stand tall and straight, side by side, accepting whatever comes. The address here, by the way, is my actual address in this poem, Dream. I had a dream where I was coming into my house, but it was weird. Dream. At 1725 Hamill Drive in Las Cruces, there's a door with my name on it. I turn the key in the dark, and when my eyes have adjusted, see the spines of paperbacks in a bookcase. I walk up to Esther Waters and fondle her leaves, smelling of mold and old age. Pass by the couch and around the partition to where the refrigerator hums. It lights up when I open it. Hulking boughs, quivering slightly, gleam through the glass panels of the back door. Whether any cats or which generation of them will appear if I unbolt the door to the yard, I can't surmise, any more than I know how I got here, from where, why Jill isn't with me, and who this person is that still goes by my name. Jill is my wife. Jill appears in a lot of these poems. This is kind of the dissociation you feel after you've been walking around New York City. There. We went, we saw, we had a lot of fun. We lived a lot, or seemed to fill the moments with more awareness of each moment as it passed. on a city sidewalk often. Every moment wearing nothing special or predictable. No two the same attitudes or steps we noticed, looking up. The sky was there somewhere, probably where it always was. We didn't care if she or I were the same people we had known before. So much passing by made us less aware of self, more conscious of each moment going, so that another moment could come up to us, to be noticed. Okay, now here I got, when this book came out, we had a section about dreams of death and dark thoughts, and my mother was dying at that time. She died a year and a half ago at age 98. And so I wanted to dedicate the book to her, and there's a few poems in here about her. And I'll read 3 of them and then I'll finish up. Gravitational pull. Words that can be dense as cinder blocks, or tentative as the swinging bird feeder on which finches twirl in my backyard on an overcast day, the morning I sent the change of address notice to my mother's gas company, which means she will be here permanently now, not leading her own life happily somewhere far away, so I could lead mine guilt-free elsewhere, not needing an anchor so long as she had hers, free to glide by the ocean from where I could send her cell calls, putting the phone to the waves, letting her hear seagulls cry by. After Ma died, the sky is back, insistent with its overcast, but soothing in its milkiness, under which doves come and go like small airplanes looking for their ports. At breakfast, I played Mozart's spinet pieces, purely Mozart, sad and happy. In the dictionary, we looked up spinet, which surprisingly has one N only. Also clavichord, harpsichord, cembalo. Pretty words from places that the music brings you like a conversation to make the room glow. The kind of place, I thought, where Ma might be, if she's still any place. And this is the poem, the title, this is the poem that I use a title from this poem to give the title to the book, as far as I know. Because she expected me to notice details and not be wasteful, I searched with my fingers in the woodpile and found these twigs and bits of bark to feed the wood fire. Having been warned to listen and look around me when I'm out, I hear a humming engine and metallic scraping that has to be workmen on Montana Avenue. After dreaming last night I'd shirked my responsibilities as a teacher, I got up early and went to get the x-ray I kept postponing. As if someone would be proud of me, I was thinking when I wasn't thinking. Or that she would love this rustic view with chickens beside the irrigation ditch. A scene straight out of childhood I walk alongside of often. I'll finish with 2 poems. One from a dream, from the dark. I searched along drafty stairways and inside immense classrooms in the dilapidated schoolroom building where visitors experimented with paintings of their own design. But nowhere did I find you. And when finally you appeared, and I asked you to sit next to me on the stairs, your eyes could hardly see me, looking so fixed and far away. This morning, returning to the waking world, you in your studio after breakfast, I looking out the window from the couch. It's overcast, a chance of rain. Spring winds rattle the junipers and the old toothless wind chimes hanging on the porch. But there's a winter mood in me, as if the dream had taught a lesson I don't want to learn. The people I most love will die. Well, finally, I'll be seeing you. It's a song you all know, right? 10:30. I thought it was perfect for the end of the book. I'll be seeing you. 10:30. It's for Jill, my wife. 10:30. The sky a drizzly gray behind junipers outside the window I'm looking through to two white columns that support the porch, between which hangs an old ristra, slightly swaying in currents from the rain. The rain that's managed to cross hundreds of arid miles to bring us this melancholy, intimacy, that earlier moved me to put on the Ray Charles version of the song on an old record found at Walgreens after David had been born. David, now married with children of his own in snow-buried upper state New York. Listening on the couch, we imagine those 2,000 miles. Birds who leave their nests, years that pass and accumulate to turn the rock-hard stoics we thought we were, soft and sentimental. In that small cafe, the park across the way, the smooth backs of your thighs last night as we sank spoon-like to sleep, I thought, are my keel. What enables me to sail out to unknown adventure and danger each night, knowing, as certain as it's possible, I'll be able to return next morning, this morning, with radio news in the kitchen, the smell of toast, a new day slowly lightening the trees. So far, for so long, for as long as, I'll be looking at the moon, but I'll be seeing you. Thank you. I have books for sale if anybody's interested.
All right, guys, that's going to be about it. Like I said, get some of Joe's books. You definitely want to get a chance to get those. Get them signed, do whatever you can. Stay tuned for all of our programming that we have at the Center for the Arts and the Lee County Museum. I think the 9th we have an open mic night with some local poets. And Pete, do you have anything you want to add? Oh yeah, we're actually going to have another poetry night like this here at Starbucks closer to the end of the month, so you also want to stay tuned to that.